Good evening, YouTube. I'll do an update on the build. So we've had some setbacks and some moments where I didn't know if we were going to be able to use these baskets and stuff, but I think we've come up with some solutions that are just going to get us where we need to be. So first thing I found out, and this wasn't a super big surprise, but I didn't think it was a real big deal initially, but the more I thought about it, the more I didn't like it. I mocked it up with this is a spider I have just for mock up. And once everything was set in place, you see where the cooling holes are at above the spider. They're supposed to be below. Wasn't super worried about that initially because a lot of these voice coils don't even have those cooling vents, and there's a giant vent on the back of the motor. And I thought, okay, well, it'll be enough, but it's not ideal. Second problem was there's not much room there between the voice coil and the spider. So it just felt like I was making one compromise after another, and I was just like, that's too much. So we just got to really fix this thing. So I came up with these, and this isn't new to the industry or anything. They've been around for a while, but I found these on Widget Co. and they're 1/2-inch spacers to go between the motor and the basket. And I use these because there's a little more surface area than most of the spacers that are out there for subwoofers. I found these are 1/2 inch both ways, 1/2 inch tall, 1/2 inch this way for 6mm. And I got this one done already. Boom, bam! And came out nice, man. It's good. And now that will position the spider above the vents, roughly about right here. And then the cone will be where it needs to be, and then the spider will be where it needs to be. And also I can open the basket up inside here. I can open this hole up, and it'll have more. I mean, it already was within spec, but it'll have enough room to where if these things really start moving, they'll have clearance. So I got that figured out. And then I trimmed the cone, the surround. I got the edge trimmed so it would drop down in the basket. So I did that. And I had two problems. With the spiders I had chose, they're not flat like the ones that I did mock-up with. So I use these for mock-up. I measured everything with these flat spiders. These they're not really flat. They're up a little more than 1/4 at the place where the cone is going to make contact. And normally they wouldn't be. They'd probably be a little closer to maybe 1/8 of an inch, but these I have to cut. They're for like a 2.5 inch coil, so I got to cut them to 3. And once I cut them to 3, it's going to be right on top of the last roll, so that's going to raise it. Plus they sit up a little, they're not completely flat. So that was one issue, and it was holding the cone up as high as you see it is now. So I kind of went back to the old flat spider. I had 2 of those. They were I didn't think that I was having trouble finding exactly what the specs were on these, but I was kind of like, well, I guess we're going to go back to using these now. So but I wasn't super happy about that. And then today, just a little while ago, I set the cone down in the basket, and I was just looking at everything, and come to find out that this inner seam right here on the roll was going to interfere with the basket here. It was very close, and when it moves, it rolls in a little bit, and it was going to interfere with this. So I was like, man, really had to take a step back, and like, man, don't know if these baskets going to work, or do I need to get different cones, or what do we need to do, Put a ball in this motor on this other basket. It's kind of a, gotta be quick on this one. Says 5-minute epoxy, and it is sure enough. It is sure enough that. Yeah, baby. If it was easy, everybody'd do it. There's a little bit of clearance, so I can move it if I need to. I think that's about it right there. Once that's down, it's down then. And we got it. Ta-da! Probably thinking, why did you put epoxy on those screws? You'll never get them out, and you're somewhat on the right, you know, somewhat right there. The way I did it, I can get them out later. Really, I want to build these so they'll really last a super long time. Most speaker motors just stay on the baskets they're on. Just how it usually ends up being. What I did there, some might have gotten the threads, I hope not. If it did, it's going to be a lot worse, but I wasn't aiming to get them in the threads. But just glued under the head here, and then on the face of the little spacers. So worst case scenario, I could cut them in half with a little Dremel oscillator thing, and then the thread should screw right out of the motor, and then I'll just have to knock these out with a punch, you know, if it ever came down to that. That's the idea anyway. If any got on the threads, then it may not go that way. But I'm not planning on these coming apart anytime in the next, you know, long time, or at all. So they're fine, and I'd rather them be permanent and nothing coming loose in 6 months or something than to have issues where, you know, I got to recone it again because the screw's backed out. So much rather than be permanent than 6-7 months have a failure. So, and we can always, you know, I'm pretty good with metal, and I've worked with steel quite a bit, and I'm sure I could get them out. I mean, it might be a couple-hour job, but anyway, that's why I did it. So.